Hello and welcome to another VMK in the C++ series. In this VMK, I'm going to show you how to install the Visual C++ 2005 Express compiler, which Microsoft offers for free. All the video tutorials that I've been doing up till now in the C++ series, as well as in the OpenGL game development series, have been using the Visual Studio 2003.NET compiler. I've been using this compiler in all the VMKs because this is the compiler that I'm most familiar with. However, I have received a number of emails recently asking if it is possible to use the 2005 Express version of the Microsoft compiler to work with the C++ VMKs as well as the OpenGL game development VMKs. And the good news is, yes, you can. The 2005 Express version of the compiler has all the features that you need to be able to create the games and the programs that I show you in all my tutorials. In this VMK, I'm going to focus specifically on how to install the 2005 Express compiler and how to get it set up with the Platform SDK so that when you are working with all the tutorials, you hopefully won't run into very many problems. To begin, you need to download the compiler and install it on your computer. Let's begin by heading over to the Microsoft website. We can do this just by typing msdn.microsoft.com. And you'll notice that you're going to get redirected to some other version of the MSDN website that is specific to your region. I'm in Canada, so you'll notice here in the top right-hand corner it's selected to be Canada English. If you're coming from another country, then your selection up here may be a little bit different. For instance, US English. But overall, the layout should be the same. On the left-hand side, we have some options here. And what we want to do is select Visual Studio Express. Today we can see that they're announcing that Visual Studio 2008 Express Edition is in beta, so soon 2008 will be available for download. But for now, let's just work with the 2005 edition. We can download it by clicking on the download button right here. You can now see that it's taken us to the download section. We know we're here because down below in the download and install, we have these options here to select what we want to download. We're interested in the Microsoft Visual Studio C++ 2005 Express Edition. So down here in the language selection, I'm going to choose English. And what happens is a security message pops up at the top here. You need to click on this and select Download File. And you'll have to scroll back down here and select your language a second time. This time, it's asking you where do you want to save the file that you wish to download. I'm going to place it in this Downloads folder, which is located on my desktop. So after this is downloaded, we're going to go into that folder, and we can just double-click on that downloaded file and run the application. What this will do is it's going to start a wizard, which will then start downloading all the files necessary to install Visual Studio 2005 Express. This will take a few minutes. Next, this window will appear. You'll want to select Next, read through this licensing agreement, and then select Accept to these terms, and click Next. Here you want to select which features you want to download and install on your computer. You want to install the graphical IDE. This is the Visual Studio component of Visual C++ Express. And you'll also want to download the Microsoft MSDN 2005 Express Edition. This is all the documentation that you'll be using inside of Visual C++. We're not going to be working with the Microsoft SQL Server, so I'm going to leave this unchecked. Click Next. Select where you want to install the program. I'm going to install it on my C drive here, so I'm going to select C, Program Files, Microsoft Visual Studio 8, and then select Install. You're now going to begin the transfer process to download everything from the Microsoft server onto your local computer. This again will take a few minutes to do, so you'll just have to be patient until everything gets downloaded. After the Visual C++ 2005 Express Edition is downloaded, you'll notice that the Microsoft MSDN 2005 Express Edition will start downloading as well. And again, you'll have to be patient for all of these files to download straight from the Microsoft website. The MSDN is larger than the Visual Studio Express Edition software, so it's going to take a little bit longer to download. Okay, now that it's finished downloading the software, it's going to go through and install both the Visual Studio and the MSDN software directly onto your computer, wherever you've selected to install it. Visual Studio has now been installed, and it is saying here that we should visit the Windows Update site to make sure that if there are any service packs or security updates, we install them as well. You must also register the software with Microsoft so that it doesn't expire after the 30 days trial that you're given initially. Let's click Exit, and we can go inside of our Start menu and start up Visual Studio 2005 Express. The first time it's going to start, it's going to set up some environment variables as well as some other things that it needs to do just on the first time that it gets started. Once all of that is done, you'll see the following window appear on your screen. From here, you can go and create new projects and start working inside of Visual C++ 2005 Express. Now, you won't be able to develop Windows-based applications without installing Platform SDK. So you need to go ahead and do that. Let's go and quit this and go and download the Platform SDK. To get the Platform SDK files from the Microsoft website, what I recommend doing is just going into Google and typing in Platform SDK and pressing Enter. You'll see usually within the first couple links that show up, there'll be a Downloads section. And this one here is for Windows Server 2003 SP1 Platform SDK. That's not the most recent version. And I know this because I've downloaded this a few times now. So if you just scroll down to the very bottom here, there'll be a Related Resource section. And down here, you'll see that there's a Windows Server 2003 R2 SDK, which has been released on March 2006. There's 3 different versions of this software. You can either download the web setup, the full download, or the ISO download. I would recommend downloading the ISO version so that you can then burn a DVD or CDs of the files that you download, and then you can keep a copy with all your other CDs. If you don't want to do that, just download the full version and then install it straight off your hard drive. So to download the files, select whichever one you're going to use. I'm going to go here into the full version, and before you can download it, you'll need to verify that you have a valid version of the Windows operating system. So just click Validation Required here, click on Continue. Your Windows version will get validated, and then a link will appear here that allows you to download the files. You'll notice here that there's a number of files you can download, so you'll need to go through and download each of these individually. If I went back here to select the ISO, let's just go back a few pages to here, the ISO. You'll notice again you'll need to validate, and this time you'll see that there's a download button. When you click on that, a pop-up will appear that lets you download this 409 megabyte image, which you can use to burn a CD or a DVD. I've downloaded the Platform SDK already and installed it, and after you do, you'll see that there's a C Program Files Microsoft Platform SDK for Windows Server 2003 R2 directory on your hard drive. And inside here, this is where all the include, library, and bin files are installed that have all the Platform SDK files. Alright, now the only thing left to do is to let Visual Studio 2005 Express know about all of these files. So here's how we do that. We're going to start up Visual Studio again, and we need to go into the Tools and Options menu. From here, under the Projects and Solutions, you want to expand this and select VC++ Directories. From here, you'll notice that there is a drop-down menu which includes executables, includes, and libraries. We're going to select executables, and then what we want to do is click on this new line button. What this is going to do is allow us to enter in a path to some executables that we want to include with all the projects that Visual Studio will be compiling. In here, we want to specify the directory path for the Platform SDK which we've just installed. On my computer, I installed it under the C Program Files Microsoft Platform SDK for Windows Server 2003 R2/bin. That's the default path directory that Platform SDK will install on. Now, make note here that this item that I've added is at the very top of the list. If you've gone ahead and added this item to the very bottom, you'll need to move it to the top using these arrows right here. So just scroll it right up to the very top so that it's the very first item inside of this list. You need to do the same thing for the include files. So select Add New Line. And here you want to add the C Program Files Microsoft Platform SDK and then /include. This will have all the include files that you're going to need when you're creating programs that use anything to do with Windows. You'll notice that inside of the include directory, you also have a GL folder, and this is where all the OpenGL header files are included. So if you are doing any game development, this is where the GL headers are located. The last folder that you need to add inside of Visual Studio is this lib. So take this path, go back inside Visual Studio, select Library Files, and add a new line here. Alright, we've now set up the libraries, the includes, and the executables. You don't have to worry about these other ones down here. Select OK, and then go to File and Exit. Okay, we're almost done. There's only two more things left to do. If we go back inside of the Visual Studio 2005 Express folder where you've installed the software, underneath the VC folder, you'll find a VC project defaults. In here are a bunch of templates for all the different kinds of Visual Studio projects you can begin inside of Visual C++ 2005 Express. We want to modify one of these so that anytime we create a Windows application, all the required library files will get linked into our project. The template file that we want to modify is this one here, corewin_express.vsprops. We're going to go and edit this inside a context, but you can use Notepad or any other text editor. You'll notice that there is a tag here called additional dependencies, and currently we have kernel32.lib in here. Well, when we are developing things with Windows involved, we need a few more libraries, so we're going to add the following. We have user32.lib, gdi32.lib, winspool.lib, comdialog32, advapi32, shell32, OLE32, OLEAUT32, and then we have uuid.lib. Don't forget your closing quotation marks at the very end of this line. Okay, so we've modified that one line of code. Make sure you save that file, and there's only one other thing we need to modify. In Visual C++ Express, the Win32 Windows application type is disabled in the Win32 application wizard. We want to enable this so that when we do want to create Win32 applications, we have this wizard available to us. To enable the wizard, we need to go into the following folder. Underneath VC, we have a VC Wizards. Under here, we want to select App Wizards, Generic, Application, HTML 1033. This time we want to modify the app settings.html file, so we're going to go and edit this inside a context, and again, you can use Notepad if you wish. And the lines of code that we want to modify are lines 441 through to 444. So let's see here, 441. We can see here that it says WinApp is disabled. We want to comment this out. We have WinApp label is disabled. Comment that out. And we also have DLL app and DLL app label being disabled. So let's comment those 4 lines of code out so that we now enable WinApp and DLL app. Save this guy and you're ready to go. Let's start up Visual Studio 2005 Express and give it a try. I'm going to go in here, select File, New Project. Under Win32, we have Win32 console application. I'm going to type in here just test and click OK. Under the application setting, I'm going to select console application, and I'm not going to use precompiled headers, and then click finish. Here's our main entry point into our project, and we can test to see whether this works just by sending, I don't know, a printf statement. To compile this, just press Ctrl F5, select yes, and see if it compiles successfully. And there we go. We have maticnose.com and Visual Studio 2005 Express with an exclamation point. I forgot to put a carriage return at the end there, so our line of code ended up meshing with the press any key to continue. Let's just recompile that and test it again, and there we go. So we're now up and running inside of Visual C++ 2005 Express. Before you start using this compiler, make sure you go underneath Help and click on Check for updates to make sure you update the software with any patches or security updates, and also make sure you register the product so that it doesn't expire on you after 30 days. If you find my videos helpful and you can support my website, you can do so by clicking on any of the Google ads found on the side, or by going and purchasing any items found in the store, or by getting a membership.